It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley are here. Paul's got an interesting new, well, I'll let him explain where he is. Kind of a surprise to us all. We'll talk about Windows 11. It continues to march on. Is it time to install Windows 11 on your machine? Some interesting news about Forza Horizon 5, Xbox Gaming Pass titles, and some new computers from Mobile World Congress. There's lots to talk about. Paul and Mary Jo are here. Let's get Windows Weekly underway.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 766. Recorded Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022. I wrote it on the plane. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Melissa. The U.S. Postal Service processes more than 98,000 address changes daily. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. Try Melissa's APIs in the developer portal. It's easy to log on, sign up, and start playing in the API sandbox 24/7. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free at melissa.com/twit. And by Thinkst Canary. Detect attackers on your network while avoiding irritating false alarms. Get the alerts that matter. For 10% off and a 60-day money-back guarantee, go to canary.tools/twit and enter the code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box. And by Intel. Orchestrated by the experts at CDW to deliver increased performance with the built-for-business 11th Gen Intel Core vPro processor. Learn more at cdw.com/Intel Client. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show we cover the latest news from Microsoft. You guys are stars now. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, because you, I don't know if you know this, maybe your ears were itching or your palms turned red or something. I don't remember what it is. But we played a clip of your show yesterday on Security Now in which Steve Gibson was praising you for complaining about, well, Steve's on a bit of a high horse these days about Windows 11 hardware requirements. He says there's no... So he's playing the clip where you say there's no, no technical reason.
It's arbitrary.
It's arbitrary. And Steve's been saying that for a while. I don't know why it makes him so mad. He's the guy who a few years ago wrote a program that said never 10. And now he's mad he can't get Windows 11. Well, actually, he just wrote a program called In Control that keeps you from getting Windows 11. So I don't even, I guess he's just, it offends the nerd in him that a company would say this software must not run on this hardware even though it could.
This is the modern version of Bill Gates walking into a user group meeting and saying that people have to pay for software. You can't just steal it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just rubs people the wrong way. It's arbitrariness, I think, that is the problem.
Yeah.
And I think their secretiveness and kind of not coming forward with the truth right off made people madder.
It's right. That's a good point. So,
would people be less offended if Microsoft said you can't have Windows, you could run it, but you just can't have it because we don't want you to have it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't people be more angry if you said that?
I don't know about all of Microsoft, but the Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say the part that they weren't forthcoming about was they knew they were going to increase the TPM and CPU requirements. They never told us that. They never told us till it came out.
They literally briefed us about this stuff and never mentioned the most important part of it. Yeah. This is, we go through waves, I think, with the Windows team. You have transparency and then secrecy.
Yeah.
Transparency and then secrecy. Jim Alchin was transparent. Sinofsky was secrecy. Terry Myerson was transparent. Back to, we're back with Panos Pineda's secrecy.
Is more in the, let's have a big surprise. I like surprises too, and I think there's a good reason to do them sometimes, but hardware requirements is not one of those.
No, well, let's put it a different way. Surprise works when you're a consumer products company making little gadgets that people get excited about once a year.
Yeah.
Windows is a product used for productivity and work. It's used by businesses. There's no reason for surprise. Let's be transparent about what's happening. That just is what makes sense for this market. And I know they want it to be exciting. I know they want it to be more consumer focused. I get it. It does, but nobody cares.
Okay, I didn't mean to hijack the show. That's Paul Thurrott on the line.
No, that's fine.
Thurrott.com. You know them from Security Now, of course.
You may have heard us from such podcasts.
Such podcasts as Mary Jo Foley from ZDNet. And we're here not to talk about that, but we are here to talk about Windows 11. Yes. Even though you can't have it. You can't handle the 11.
Well, you can have it, but the question is, do you want to have it, thinking that you might not get every security update and such? There's a chance.
And the little watermark in the corner that says, you loser, you.
Yeah.
And
you loser.
You loser. And honestly, I mean, who cares?
You know what? Windows 10 is a good operating system. It's supported till 2025.
I find a hard time caring. I do think, I guess this is fuel on the fire. I do think Windows 11 is beautiful and really looks nice.
Yeah.
I do too.
I like it.
I do too.
But it's purely cosmetic.
Yeah, but it's also purely cosmetic in that standard Microsoft way. In fact, we'll talk about this today. Since we last spoke, there have been a couple of builds. They're making more interfaces look like Windows 11. Always appreciated. But that's always been the problem with Windows, hasn't it? We have 8 generations of Windows UIs in this product. So you have these weird panes that come up sometimes that look like they're from Windows 8. We have legacy classic UIs from Windows 7 and earlier. We have Windows 10 UIs, obviously. Now we have Windows 11 UIs. If you had asked people a year ago, what do you want from the next version of Windows? Like actual enthusiasts who care about this stuff, I think they would have said consistency.
Yeah.
Get rid of control panel and put everything through settings. Clean up all the icons so they're all consistent. They're all pointing the same way and have the same style. Put fluid or whatever it is everywhere. Make blah 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 whatever. And instead they come up with this new UI, which, like you said, is pretty. I love it, but it's only in some places. And you can right click in different places in Windows 10 and get 11. And get 3 different kinds of menus. And I know a lot of people won't notice that stuff, but those people aren't listening to this podcast, so screw those people.
Hey, wait a minute.
No. I mean, the people who care about this stuff are very clear on what they want, and Microsoft is just looking in a different direction. I think, and that's their right, of course, it's fine, but. Just don't think it's going to be, we're going to wake up one day and everything's going to be perfect. I think Windows is always going to be a hodgepodge of UIs. It's just the reality.
Yeah.
I know. If you want consistency, there are solutions out there for you.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's your number one goal, I think for a lot of people, the real number one goal is just, I want the applications I need. I want to access my data, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah. A lot of times you don't even really see the underlying operating system.
Right.
Yeah.
Our poor editors are using Windows 8, but they don't ever see it because they've got Premiere at full screen all the time. And
right, so it doesn't matter. Me, I have TweetDeck full screen with Notepad on the side.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay.
Right.
I could slip Linux in and you wouldn't even notice. It'd be like,
hey, let's not get crazy.
We put Linux in Mary Jo's coffee. Let's see if she notices.
We called it Project Mojave.
No, do you remember one time we were I forget, Paul and I were at a show and the only workstations there were Linux.
Wow.
Remember this?
That's kind of user hostile.
I do.
Wow.
And I remember going into the press room and I'm like, wait, is everything in here Linux? And they're like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, just try it. And I tried it. And I'm like, you know what? It's not that hard. I don't know. Like what? I guess I thought it was really
their
different.
secret. That was their secret mission. They were being paid by Linus Torvalds.
I forget where that was. Yeah.
Probably not in this country. That's all.
I don't remember that.
No, it was.
Some communist nation, no doubt.
Remember, they used to be like Linux guys and open source guys that would boycott Microsoft events. They used to be outside.
No, they'd stand out there with signs and costumes and stuff. Yes.
They would picket it? That's hysterical.
Yes.
And it would have been more entertaining if there were more than 3 or 4 of them. But, God bless them. They're, they're fighting the fight.
That's hysterical. That's something you do when you really are kind of a backwater minority operating system. Now that Linux is the desktop for most of the world, we don't care much. Don't need to pick it. You might want to pick it us. That's all.
Wait a minute. What happened that I didn't know about?
Android, baby. Android happened. That's what.
Yeah. But it's not on desktop.
No,
so
you're right.
like,
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But, you know.
You were supposed to end that with yet.
It's the point really is it doesn't matter very much.
It doesn't matter.
They're all
much.
so similar nowadays. The differences are something enthusiasts will go over and over. But
well, I mean, let's say, for example, one of the issues I would say moving to Linux for a typical Microsoft user, and this is not an enthusiast, I mean, just a normal human being, is if you are used to saving files normally in Word and Excel and everything, they save to OneDrive, they sync to the cloud, that's where they go. That capability isn't available natively on Linux. It's something Microsoft could do, and I know there are third-party solutions, but it's for me even, I mean, just in my own particular way of working, it's a huge workflow change to go to a system that doesn't offer that. You know, the Mac is easier because it does have native, Microsoft supplied OneDrive integration. But there's always something, I mean, this is true even when you go from a version of Windows to another version of Windows. Or you're a Windows user and you want to use Windows RT back in the day, or, you know, Windows, whatever we have now, Windows and ARM. When that one thing you need, the printer or whatever, isn't there, for a lot of people, that's just the block. That's why they don't want to change, you know?
Right.
You can't make it hard.
Yeah. But I got to say, I was surprised when I looked at our notes today and the top item says you think Windows 11's coming along really nicely.
Yeah. No, there's an
that, right?
asterisk.
Like that. I
really nicely.
Like,
it's coming along
like,
really nicely. That's something your doctor tells
okay.
you if the medicine's working. Right. The swelling's going down, you know.
There are 3 or 4 different versions of Windows 11, right? There's the version that normal people are using, the millions of people, whatever, hundreds of millions, whatever it is now, out in the world. And that version is not coming along very nicely. That version's coming along very slowly. However, they have made some feature updates, you know, nothing major, but some little changes. That's good. In the dev channel and in the beta channel, you now can test a wide range of new features. You know, 2 weeks ago, we got the biggest feature drop Windows 11 has ever seen. 1 week ago, we got another big one. Just today, we got some more. And what this all means is that by the time the first feature update ships, Windows 11, this is kind of what we talked about last year, right?
Yeah.
They should never have shipped it when they shipped it. But if they had just waited for the first feature update, fix more of those UIs, you know, Windows 11ize more UIs, modernize more apps, add more features back from that you regressed, you know, in the original RTM version, it becomes something where you can't really complain about too much anymore. So if you run the dev or beta channel today, you get to see what that is. And it's good. It's not perfect, right? But it's much better than what they shipped last October. And I hope they ship more of this stuff before this October.
They will.
Right?
They will.
I hope so.
Will.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you know, look, cynically, they should have done this. This should have been what they shipped as V1. You know, absolutely. But you know, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah. Like what? Like when I look at these builds, okay.
This
We're switching
like
roles today,
No, they're
right?
not so
like,
bad.
Like,
it's not so bad.
No.
Yeah.
I know.
I got this. No, so for example,
because everything I see, like when you say it's a huge update, like I remember 2 weeks ago when the update came out, you're like, this is a huge update. I'm like, really? What do you think is huge in this?
So a lot of this is going to be workflow based. Like, for example, one of the things they have not fixed is right-click the taskbar and get task view, right? That's not there.
Still not there.
But that's a very specific feature. And I don't know that the average Windows user is accessing Task Manager a lot. I actually happen to do that a lot, but whatever. One of the things that's really impacted, so that one you can work around, right? You can right-click the start button, you get that menu, it's in there, that works. Okay, I think that works for most people. You can, you know, open the start menu and start typing and get to it. But one of the really, really big ones for me is you've got a file of some kind and you drag it down to one of the icons for an application in the taskbar. That application will open and you drop it and then that opens it in the app, right? I do that every day. To this day, if I'm on Windows 11 RTM, I'll still do that from time to time. It does not work. It's one of the regressive features they lost. That's back, and that works great. It works exactly as it should. The way it always, I know.
I've never done that in my life.
Okay. All right, fine.
I didn't even know you could. But it's not the way I work, so yeah.
Yeah. This is honestly a lot of it, and this is why you have to, this is the asterisk part. I mean, the part where it's easy to be cynical. A lot of it is literally stuff that they lost when they went to Windows 11 that they're bringing back. So it's like, how much do you want to applaud this stuff? But realistically, this is what makes that transition for the 1 point something billion people that are still using Windows 10 to Windows 11 more easier. Because less stuff is missing, you know?
Right.
And even goofy little things like the widget. I hate widgets, right? I hate them. But I really like having the little weather forecast in the taskbar. That was a really nice feature of Windows 10. Lost in Windows 11. Now it's back in, I don't know, it's beta. It's probably in beta and dev. But it's just a nice little thing. Now, they have very sneakily put it over in the left corner where the start button used to be, ensuring they will get false clicks from people with muscle memory going down there to launch applications. But I'm glad that that's back. There's just a lot of little refinements. You got to remember some of the key new UIs in Windows 11 are half-baked because they're so new. They're brand new. They're not things that used to exist that they evolved. They're brand new. So the taskbar is the obvious version. But quick actions, that notifications interface and the calendar, those are all brand new. So if you're familiar with Chrome OS, which a lot of people probably aren't, that OS has very similar UI to that. And it's far more advanced. And you can see little things in there that they're adding in these interim builds that are going to bring it kind of up to speed. And another big one for me, and this is very typical for what we're doing right now. I could be on a computer at home that I never changed the audio setup, the peripherals attached to it ever, but I'll go into Teams, start a call. It's on the wrong mic. It's on the wrong speakers. It happens all the time. But when you travel like this, you start plugging stuff in. It wants to use the wrong devices for all that stuff, and you have to fix that stuff. And it's a lot more. A lot of things in Windows 11 are a lot more clicks. And one of the things they're adding now is like a sound output. They don't have mic, but they have sound out where you can choose the speaker right from quick settings, which is perfect. Because before you had to dive into settings to find that interface. It's a bunch of little things, but I think it's just kind of progress. The start menu is another classic example. The new start menu, again, brand new UI, not based on something from the past, totally unsophisticated. There's two main sections for like pinned apps and recommended, which we kind of all agreed are dumb. Some people might just want recommended. Some people might just want pinned. Some people might want to be able to kind of, choose the size. It's just stuck. And one of the things at its whatever its size is, right? You get 50% for this, 50% for that. If you delete every single pinned icon, you'll have a giant empty space in the top of your start menu. It won't fill in that space. Totally unsophisticated. So they're making this is not what I wanted, but they have new layouts where you can have more of the pins or more of the more of the recommended items. It's not actually what I want. It's not good enough, I don't think. They made Snap layouts discoverable. Right? Awesome. If you move a window around, the little panel comes down. It gives you a visual cue something's going on. You go check it out, and then it shows you the layouts. Before you had to just mouse over a small
No, if you said to me top 3 features of Windows 11, that's one of them for me. The Snap layouts.
No, Snap layouts is one of those things I think, and Snap groups. I think is one of those features that I think will impact a lot of people. And it's, by the way, for all the silly emoticon, blah, blah, blah nonsense they're putting in Windows, this is an actual productivity feature. Yeah. We should celebrate that kind of thing. I mean, that's good.
Yep.
Have I convinced you? No. Okay.
Maybe.
It's getting better. We can agree it's getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because when I write every one of these posts, when they come out, the insider builds, and I'm always like, does anyone actually care about this? Like, when I'm writing it, I'm like, okay, like
that tells us more about you, Mary Jo.
Look down at the street because I'm out there holding a sign and it says, "I care."
I care.
No, like I remember when they did something to one of the volume indicators, so it was more in the fluent style, and people lost their minds. And I'm like, okay, there's two groups of people in this world, right? There's these people over here who think like it's a travesty that things aren't fluent design, whatever that is, really. And then there's the people who actually just try to use Windows to get their job done. Me and many, probably like the other 1.5 billion people who use Windows.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, but see, a lot
I
of
just have trouble getting my enthusiasm up for some of these features because I'm like, do people really care?
Honestly, anytime you change anything, even if a lot of people think it's prettier, what you're doing is causing a work stoppage for a moment,
right?
While you encountering it for the first time.
Something.
Think about what is this? They changed this. Why did they do that?
It's true.
And sometimes you might say, hey, this is nice. But a lot of times it's just some stupid recommended thing that pops up and it's just getting in your face. Yeah. And that's why I think this, the Snap stuff is so important, because I don't think most people would be annoyed by that. I think most people would never even know it was there. And I'm like, what is this thing? And maybe that will make a difference for some people. I think I think that one's positive, at least.
Me too. Same.
Do you want to talk about the new dev build? Go ahead.
Today's build.
Yes.
Today's build.
There's somebody saying a new security feature.
Yeah, so that's intriguing, but they won't give you any information yet about it other than the name of it, right? Which is something app security, I think. I've already forgotten because
something app security.
Something app security.
App security. I have to look that up because I'm like, no, it's supposed to alert you if you are trying to, if an app is trying to install or you're trying to install an app that's not secure.
Good.
Smart app control.
Good.
Right?
That's a good feature.
Yeah, so that's good. That's a good feature. And then it says, and we'll tell you more about it in the future. That's all it says. I'm like, okay.
Okay. Secret smart app control.
You don't think that restyling the open as dialogue is the most important thing that's ever happened to Windows in the history of Windows?
Huge.
I didn't even notice the difference between those two pictures.
What's different? What's new?
Well, so the thing about this UI is that it actually debuted in Windows 8. And one of the weird things is when you move forward to 10 and then 11, it actually hasn't changed that much. It's basically the same, thing. But
so when
Windows
you try
8
to
used to
open
do this.
something, it says to you, how do you want to open this
Well, it comes
app?
up.
Right.
Yeah, it comes up 2 times. You can right click and choose open as, and then you would get it. A lot of people probably don't even know about that. But if you say you're normally by default, you would run Windows Photos to launch image files, whatever, but you install, say, Photoshop or something. Once you've installed an app that can take control of those file formats, the next time you double click on one, it will say, hey, which one do you want to use? And it's the same UI. But it literally dates back, what is that, 10 years now? Yeah, it's like 10 years old. And it's persisted through 3 versions of Windows. It's kind of weird. These things still exist. You can still find Windows 8 panels, which are these things that slide out from the side of the screen instead of being like floating windows in Windows 11 today. And this is, some of the stuff they're slowly stepping through and modernizing.
Right.
When I see something like this, I think it is beautiful is a strong word, but it's modern and it matches that Windows 11 aesthetic, which I happen to like, right? But it's frustrating for me, and I think for some people, that there isn't enough of it, that there's too many, like I said, I think I said this up front, there are just too many generations of UIs. And you don't, that one's fun, but there are other UIs like that. You'll click it, it'll be the one from Windows 10 or the one from Windows 8, or in some cases even earlier. And I think that's frustrating to people who care about details, I guess, or whatever, a UI. I don't,
Okay, I'll give you that. But
begrudgingly.
Oh man, she had to drag that one out of her. I'll give you that.
I'll give you that one. And then there's some new things like I like some of the things they're doing around account management, like in your Microsoft account, how you can now see more things, and they're up leveling things so that it's more apparent, what credit card you use. Is your credit card expired? Here's what I don't like in there, though. Then they also said, and if you're not using Microsoft 365, we'll show you some little things to indicate maybe you want to upgrade to premium. So I'm like, oh, they're putting an ad in there, too. Okay, of course they are.
Sure.
Right? To upgrade. But, I do like that they're making those things like account management easier in the operating system because that makes sense. So many times I'm like, where's my Microsoft account? Which account did I use to set up a certain subscription? Which credit card did I use to set it up?
By the way, this might be tied to the requirement that you have to sign in with a Microsoft account, right?
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
You're telling me I have to sign in with a Microsoft account, but I have no management capabilities of this account once I sign in. I mean, those might be related.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah, so it's those kind of things. It's incremental. We have a long way to go till October, which is when we think one and only feature updates coming this year. Like you said, there'll be little things they trickle out before that, like they just did with this February update. I'm sure they're going to have more things come out before October when the feature update comes. But it just feels, I want a big bang something, I guess. Like I'm like, can we have something?
Well, you know
really
what the big bang is going to be when they do this One Outlook thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is. This is Mary Jo's.
Monarch. Yeah.
The Monarch thing. Yeah.
The One Outlook that's supposed to be more consistent across all the different flavors of Outlook.
I should follow more closely.
Looks like Outlook for the web. No, you know what? There's so many.
Take notes. I'm sorry.
No, there's so many disjointed Microsoft projects going on right now. You're like, wait, what's that?
Yeah, but this is another one. Like, what? This is another reason they should have waited. This Windows 11 should have had that. You know, this is something that goes back to Windows 8. Right. And it was a problem in Windows 10 and is still a problem in Windows 11, which is Microsoft is telling developers they should use certain technologies to make their own apps. Then they use a mishmash of other things to make their apps. And their apps that are in Windows should promote these new technologies and should show how awesome things can be. They should be inspirations for other developers. But instead, most of these apps are pretty terrible. No, it's too bad. And this is it was Chris Jones who had somehow ended up in Windows Live showing off, this is how the mighty had fallen, showing off the Mail app in Windows 8, 10 years ago or more, which was based in HTML and JavaScript and CSS, just chunky little app, and we're still struggling with its successor today, right? The version they released probably in Windows 10 that is still in Windows 11 for some reason. And it's like, you guys used to have beautiful mail apps. Does anyone not remember this? Windows Live Mail, does anyone remember this app? It was beautiful. Yeah.
Well, even Outlook back Express in the day was pretty nice back then.
Outlook, exactly. That was the earlier version of that app. Beautiful.
I think
I don't know what happened.
Outlookification of everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's the dumbification of everything. I don't know.
No, I feel like warring teams. It always comes back to this at Microsoft, even now. Warring teams, like the team that developed the Mail app that's in Windows is not the Outlook team. Like they're not even the same team. They're not even related,
that's interesting.
Right? And so they're like always fighting, like who's going to have the Mail app that's built into Windows. And for a long time, it was the Mail app team inside of Windows that won that battle. And now they're going to let the Outlook team win and take the Outlook and put it in Windows, right?
Which honestly makes sense because, I mean, it's not like mail is that hard to do. There's an old...
but then you can start adding value. Like one of the things Apple does with their Mail app is allow you to appear, have a unique account for... signing up for newsletters and blah, blah, blah. This is the top to bottom thing that Microsoft could do across its Microsoft account, the Mail app, and all of its clients, and it doesn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just they just put out this piece of junk. I don't get it.
Yeah, but that is the kind of Big Bang thing I want. I'm like, I'm waiting for something
Monarch.
big.
Right.
Royal family of mail.
Yeah. Or they come up with some brand new app that gets built into Windows somehow, and I'm like, okay, here we go, something new, something exciting. Not
they're not going to innovate
a thinner, thicker font, Paul.
Well, okay. I think, look, unfortunately for exciting, interesting, fun, consumery things, you're pretty much stuck with Xbox today. It's the music and video stuff is gone. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
For the most part, right?
Right.
We're looking at productivity, and there's some neat productivity stuff. There's some fun things they're doing around focus and all that. But I think this Outlook, this One Outlook, whatever they're going to call it, is where they can really make a difference.
They're going to call it Outlook.
Outlook, yeah. All right, good, because we don't have enough products.
King Outlook.
That's fine.
Yeah.
King Outlook.
Okay, Outlook Rex.
Outlook Rex. Ooh, I like that. That's good. That's a good name.
Yeah, that is.
Strong, powerful name.
That's right.
I feel like I should take a break here, and then we can talk about more about Windows 11. I just want to keep us on track.
Sure.
Just if you don't mind, gotta stay on track.
I don't.
So very important. Paul, go out, have a quesadilla, whatever it is you do, at the Hilton in Mexico City. Have a tequila.
Have a conch.
Have a conch? Oh, a conch is Caribbean pronunciation. Conch.
A conch. It's a pastry. It's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, it's like a little curled up little pastry. Yeah.
It's so good.
Oh, I love those. Go have those. And a great coffee, too, while you're at it. Our show today brought to you by Melissa, the address experts. People are so mean. They move, Paul. They change their names. They change their email addresses. But to ensure your business is successful, your customer information has to be accurate. When you send out catalogs or bills or mailings of any kind, you want to make sure they go to the right place, right? That's why you need Melissa, the leading provider of global data quality and address management solutions. Melissa is independent. They've been around for 37 years. That's a lot of experience. It's probably why 10,000 businesses know them as the address experts with a renewal rate of over 92%. That's good in any business, but it tells you something. It tells you people who use Melissa get value out of it. In fact, the typical ROI for Melissa customers is 25%. It pays for itself and then some. Melissa capped off the year last year by reaching a milestone. Wow. That's stunning. 30 billion North American address lookups throughout the year. 30 billion. That's a record for Melissa, the most in its 37 years of history. It's not just addresses, by the way. Melissa does it all. Addresses, emails, phone numbers, names, all in real time if you want, because Melissa's got a great API. You can use it as a software as a service as well. Their global address verification service verifies addresses for over 240 countries and territories. They can do it right at the point of entry if you need it that way. But you know what? That's the nice thing about Melissa. It's very flexible. They have an FTP server. They have a secure FTP server. You can even upload your address list and download a cleaned version. You can do it on-prem, of course, if you want to keep it all to yourself. But I should point out, privacy is job one at Melissa. They undergo continual independent security audits because they're committed to security, privacy, and, of course, compliance, too. You may have compliance requirements. You'll be glad to know that Melissa is SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR compliant. So you're not giving away any of this valuable information. Melissa holds it tight, keeps it secure. And if you're tired of duplicate customer information, Melissa's data matching eliminates clutter and duplicates, which means you save money, reducing postage and mailing costs. So to recap, what can Melissa do? Batch address cleaning. Process an entire address list for accuracy and completeness. They can help you with that identity verification, which is really important these days for security. Keeps your customers happy, too. If you need geocoding, you can actually do that in Melissa. They convert addresses to longitude and latitude. There's also email verification, which will remove up to 95% of bad email addresses from your database. And because you can do it as an API, you could build that right into your own customer service software, your own shopping cart. It really is ultimately flexible. They even have apps now on iOS and Android called Lookups. Lookups will help you search addresses, names, and more one at a time at your fingertips. Very handy, very handy. Support, job one, of course. They have a global support center offering 24/7 world-renowned support. As long as you sign up for a service level agreement, they're absolutely there any time of the day or night. Data Quality Magic Quadrant, once again, from Gartner. That's the second year in a row. G2 Crowd's 2022 report ranks Melissa as a leader in both address verification and data quality software. Melissa, they're the address experts, so make sure you sign up right now. Actually, you want to play with it a little bit. You can go to the developer portal at melissa.com/twit. Take a look at the APIs. It's very easy to log on, sign up, and start playing in the API sandbox 24/7. And you can even get started today with 1,000 records cleaned, free. Make sure your customer contact data is up to date. You need Melissa. If you've got addresses, contact lists, emails, phone numbers, you need Melissa. Melissa.com/twit. MELISSA. Melissa.com/twit. Back we go to Paul and Mary Jo. And some, is this, I'm looking at this number, Windows 11 penetration. Is this a good number or a bad number? Or is this a surprise? Is this 19.3%? What is it? Contextualize that for me.
It's, so the context for this is it's slowing.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
But yeah, I know. Look, there's a big difference between Windows 10 and its place in the world and Windows 10 when it came out and its place in the world. Because Windows 10 is not horrible, right? One of the big pushes with Windows 10 was we had to get...
It's not horrible.
It's not, yeah, it doesn't suck. We had to get past Windows 8, right? So I think Windows 10, there was a big push. Windows 11, I think they're, content for this to move along as it does. But honestly, 19% after, what is it, 6 months? That's actually... That's really impressive. You got to remember, there are, what are we saying, 1.5 billion supported Windows PCs out in the world, and 1.2 of them or something are Windows 10.
20% is actually a pretty large number.
20% is actually pretty big. Yeah. Also, to me, the big thing here is that Windows 11 is poised to become the second most used version of Windows after some version of Windows 10, right? So, Windows 10 21H1, I think, is number one, and we'll see if that happens. I mean, it's possible the last two versions of Windows 10 and Windows 11 might be neck and neck for a little while or whatever, but it's getting, we're still close to that thing that Terry Myerson always said he wanted, as many people as possible to see on the same version. That's impossible, but as long as they're on the most modern versions, and most of them are, that's pretty good. Windows 10 could be seen as a version of Windows. Windows 11 could be seen as a version of Windows 10.
I guess that's the point. I mean, it's not like people are on Windows 7 or something.
Right. Well,
you go out in the world. I've seen XP out in the world. I mean, it depends, but yeah.
I mean, if you combine 10 and 11, what is that, more like 80% or 70? Or, I mean, it's
way more than 80.
Is it? That's what Microsoft, because it's the same model for security and all that, right? Drivers.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So that's really what's most important, I would say.
Yeah, it's honestly, I would say the entire time of Windows 10 and now into Windows 11, there's been a real fine tuning of how Microsoft updates Windows, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they've kind of componentized it, for lack of a better term, to where, we're on this, even if you're in Windows 10 or Windows 11, you're basically pushing the same update. They probably have different names and things, but it's much easier than it was in the past when you went from 7 to 8 or between whatever versions of Windows.
Yeah. Sriracha's waking up, so we're going to have to do this fast. Let's get this over with.
He keeps dozing and then waking up.
Mary Jo's been posting cute pictures in the Discord. This is Sriracha on his heating pad, a.k.a. the Surface laptop.
The laptop, yeah.
Yeah.
The problem with cats is they hear you talking.
Yeah.
And
they do.
Because they're the center of the universe, they assume you're talking to them.
You're talking to me? You're talking to me?
Yeah. So they just come over and start purring and pushing into you. And obviously you want me to, you want to pet me because you're talking.
You're talking to me? Yeah, you're talking to me. I know you're talking to me. He is a bright-eyed, alert boy, I tell you.
Yes, he is.
Look at that. Look at that cat. That's trouble right there. I can tell you.
Right there with a capital T.
Yep. Just waiting for you to blink.
I'm surprised Paul is in Mexico City and not Barcelona right now. Mm-hmm. I know you love Barcelona, and Mobile World Congress is on. That's where, you know what?
I do.
You can have Mexico City. I'm moving to Barcelona. Just for the hand.
Well, but you know what? how hhard is it to get back and forth to California from there?
Yeah, you're right. It's really hard. But
no, compared to Mexico. I mean, seriously, think about it.
Mexico's easy.
Yeah.
Mexico City, there's many nonstops. It's not expensive. It's quick.
Yeah.
Oaxaca's a little harder. We had to fly to Mexico City or Houston and then to Oaxaca. So you got to pick your, San Miguel would be hard.
Yep.
But,
Yep. And that was one of the first places we looked. And we said, it's pretty. It's a little too touristy, but it's 3 hours in a bus from Mexico City. It's like, I don't.
So, but you didn't go to Barcelona. Lenovo did.
Yep.
And I'm interested in this ARM-based thing they're doing.
Yeah, so this is the first HCX Gen 3 announced laptop, right? ThinkPad, no less, which is great. I mean, Lenovo came late to the tablet PC game, but in some ways, once I think it was an X200 or whatever it was called at the time, once they announced a tablet PC, which was a convertible PC, I think in some ways that kind of legitimatized, is that word I always want to use, made legitimate that platform. This is, a ThinkPad class Windows on ARM device is very interesting. And Windows on ARM is like an electric car. Yeah. You don't want something that looks like some weird nothing. You want something that looks like a normal thing, and this looks like a normal thing, right? That's what's kind of interesting about it,
But it would run. I'm even concerned about Windows on ARM. I mean, is that a mature?
Yeah. No.
It is and it isn't. The thing that has been holding back Windows, I should say, the thing that is now holding back Windows on ARM, now that Windows 11 is out in the world, is the hardware. And HCX is a step up. We'll see. I mean, obviously everyone's waiting for the Nuvia stuff, but I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We have to see. Every generation you go in with hope. Every generation we've been disappointed.
Yeah.
We'll see. But they're talking about 28 hours of battery life.
Wow.
You can kind of see in those photos that Lenovo, and they're doing this across their product lines, see a little bump at the top? Instead of doing a notch, in order to get 1080p or higher quality webcams, they're just putting a little bump.
Fine. That's better than a notch.
Yeah, why not? Exactly. Yep.
Does it protrude?
I don't think that's going to bother anybody.
Lip at the bottom?
I don't know. I don't have one, so yeah. I guess
that's the only issue, huh?
Unless it closes. I don't know how it closes, actually. Yeah, that's actually a good point. But they're doing that across their ThinkPads. I think you're going to, and other product lines. You're going to see this a lot.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's got to come down to performance. I mean, is this 8CX? Yep. See, if this were the equivalent of an Apple M1, which is also ARM based.
Okay, let's not get crazy. If this was the equivalent of a Core i3 or a Core i5, I think a lot of people would be okay with that.
It's not even that.
That's been the claim. The problem is there's been multiple generations from Qualcomm, and through some combination of software and hardware inefficiency, it just hasn't landed where we want it. So, I'm optimistic but realistic, I guess. We didn't get to see it. It was closing. Right
there. There's the.
I don't know what okay, I think the bump does expand or go beyond
Maybe
it.
But
if you look at the cameras,
holds it. It makes it easy to open. I don't know.
That's right. And
look at it there.
But the camera itself is still going to be protected when it's closed. It's not exposed.
Right. I actually don't think that's a bad design. I think that's a clever.
I don't either. I think it's
clever
fine.
way to handle it. Yeah.
The problem is, here I am being doomsday again.
I know what's going on. It's like Freaky Friday here.
I know. The only reason to use ARM, Windows with ARM, is the battery life.
Right.
And the battery life is still terrible on Windows on ARM
devices
really? That we have seen so far. It's not terrible, but it's no better than Intel. And it's not at all, even in spite of all the vendors' claims.
If the performance isn't twice as good, they're saying 28 hours of video playback.
Come on.
Right.
Like, what's the real battery life of this? 6 hours?
That does seem a little high.
It's going to be like 6 hours.
Yeah.
It should be closer to 14, but we'll see. I hope to review this one.
Come on.
Good. Comes out in May. $1,099 according to this website, sriracha.
No, I would love it. I'm always looking for the best battery life, lightest PC, and I love ThinkPads, but I just know, like, every single time we've seen the battery claims on Windows on ARM, they're not anywhere near.
You don't need performance with Notepad. You want battery life.
I want battery life.
Well, battery life. Okay, so I think there are 3 levels of battery life. There's At the top end is what they claim, right? There's always some crazy number.
Which is always a lie, right? Yeah.
At the bottom of it is what Mary Jo gets, which is always like 3 hours, 4 hours
of use.
And then somewhere between those is what I usually see. I usually get, depending on what it is. I mean, somewhere higher than that. I usually don't have as bad results as you do. And I don't know why. I if anything, I mean, I'm running Visual Studio. I'm running advanced graphics packages. I'm using Office apps to write, not Notepad. I mean, I can't even explain this. I don't know. I don't know why.
I can't either. But I've sent you my battery report, and I'm not just like making it up.
No, I know you're not making it up. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
The comments on your website are great. There's no average consumer who watches video for 28 hours straight. What is the battery life really, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Things like
We're going to have to wait for reviews for that. Yeah.
Well, good. I hope
it
you
is
get to review it.
Lenovo, for whatever it's worth. Lenovo is one of those companies that has really gone after getting rid of crapware and stuff on their PCs. They've done a great job with that. They're usually, I'm surprised they're using a video number on this. They're usually, I would say HP, Dell too. You don't see a lot of the video playback baloney anymore. I'm actually kind of surprised by this. I think they're just emphasizing that because it's such a high number, and video playback on a typical laptop is probably closer to 10 hours or whatever, 8 hours. So it sounds insane, but I would think it's going to be between a third and half of that, hopefully a half. We'll see. I mean, the very first Windows and ARM devices, I did see over 20 hours of battery life, but that's because I couldn't do anything. They were so slow, you couldn't get work done,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you wanted something just to last and be alive but not be useful in any way, I mean, I guess that was,
Do you think
met that goal.
They're turning up the clock speeds, and that's what's like, in order to give you decent performance, they're killing the battery life, in effect. It's a trade-off, isn't it? Even on ARM.
Yeah, well, right. So first of all, you got to remember this architectural change, right? Windows for 20 years-ish has been designed for this x86 architecture.
Right.
So when you go to this new architecture, you have to change a lot of things. And it's interesting because Intel's moving to that ARM-style architecture, and I'm sure AMD's done a multi-core thing for a long time now. Windows has to adapt, and I think that's going to make it better for everybody, no matter which platform you end up choosing.
Yeah.
So there's some of that, but I mean, some of it's just the reality of the hardware. I mean, for whatever reason, they thought, well, this phones run fast. Let's stick a phone chip in this thing, and it didn't really work out so well.
Yeah.
It wasn't the only Lenovo. They announced some other ThinkPads and stuff. Anything of interest?
Yeah. So the T series, which is kind of their workhorse, and if I'm not mistaken, it's responsible for probably most of their sets, like 70% of their ThinkPads.
Yeah, that's the
something
business
like that.
laptop. Yeah.
Big updates. The P series, the workstations got updated. The Extreme, the X1 Extreme, which is not a workstation technically, but a kind of a gorgeous. Actually, you got one of those at one point, didn't you?
Yeah,
didn't
I
you
have an X1 Extreme. Yeah, I had one of the first generations though. They're up to 5th generation, so I bet it's.
Yeah. So the big thing that's happened is everyone's going 12th gen Intel. We know now what that means. We know that there's U series and P series and H series, and you can look out across these systems, and we'll see. I think we're going to start to see PC makers differentiate between U series on the low end, and especially like low wattage U series for really thin and light machines. And then I wouldn't be surprised if like X1 type machines, the X1 Yogas, certainly the P series, move up to like that Core P series processor, higher wattage, more power, et cetera. So this is going to be an interesting year for PCs, actually.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else at MWC that we should talk about?
Yeah. Samsung also announced there are going to be, stay tuned. If you're into PCs, there'll be more announcements. The show's still ongoing, so there's more coming. But Samsung, the computer I'm still using at home, interestingly, when I'm doing this at home, I'm actually on a docked Samsung Galaxy Book
it's
Pro.
funny. They're not inspiring, but they're really, I feel like they're very solid. They've really made great stuff.
They're really well made.
Yeah.
And they're super thin and light. They make laptops and convertibles 13 and 15, if I'm not mistaken, except on the very lowest end version. Different colors like you kind of see on the phones. The only downside to the Samsung stuff is the software preload. So they're sort of the opposite of Lenovo in that respect. So when you buy like a Samsung Galaxy S, whatever, a Note or whatever they have, there's a million Samsung apps on there.
Yep.
And when you buy a Samsung Windows PC, there are a million Samsung apps. But I'm not a fan of that personally, but if you're into the whole Samsung ecosystem, a lot of those apps are designed for phone to PC integration. And that actually may be of interest to you.
By the way, I haven't talked about this, but I bought the Samsung 22 Ultra.
Yeah.
And it works really nicely with your phone.
Yeah. Right. Because of that partnership there with Microsoft. If you want to use your phone, you almost have to have a Samsung.
Yeah.
That's
worked
right.
out of the box, stayed connected, was able to run any apps. The screen share worked great.
So Samsung, I think, is still the only company that has software built into their phones. I think, unless Microsoft has done this in their own phones, but that automatically connects to your phone.
It was easy
without having to go through.
There were like 18 acceptance. Yeah. Not this time.
Yeah.
It was very easy, and it stays connected, which was another problem I had.
Yep.
This is a great.
Doesn't work like that on the Pixel, sadly.
No. But
No.
if you're going to use your phone, I think the Samsung.
It is.
You have to have a Samsung. Yeah.
S22.
You do.
Yeah, it's not even,
choice.
we used to kind of say, like, look, if you have an iPhone, it's not going to work. If you have Android, it's better. But now really it's like you have to have a Samsung. If you want the full experience, you have to have a Samsung.
But it's a good experience. I mean,
yeah.
It works really nicely.
Yeah.
So I'm actually been very happy with this, the S22 Ultra. Great cameras.
Is that, it looked like your background was animating.
It's not animating.
Oh, I see.
It tilts.
Tilting, yeah.
Yeah, that's another Samsung battery wasting feature.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like driving a 78 Chevy up a hill
weird,
and watching the gas gauge go down.
Use accelerator. But the battery life is good on this.
funny.
Even though it's a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, they've done a good job of tuning it. So I don't have a problem.
I love how 4,000 is only now. Yeah.
Only 4,000.
Yeah.
But
it only has a SpaceX engine in it, but it's
such a good looking screen. And I actually turned it up to 4K, which is really a battery. That's a bigger battery waster than the background, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy with it. Yeah. It's a really nice.
That effect is actually kind of cool.
Isn't it? It's like your stuff.
Because I know, the iPhone has a minor version of that, but it's very subtle.
No, this is aggressive.
Yeah.
And it works on all four axes. So,
right.
It's
neat.
It's actually a little unsettling.
It's making me a little queasy, actually.
Yeah. What could I launch to show you how? Well, it's just the quad, the 4K screen. I mean, I probably should set it back to 1080p. You can't tell the difference, but it's very smooth. It's the scroll is just great, 120 hertz scroll, and if you're a Windows user and you want a phone that is as integrated with Windows as iPhone is for macOS, this is as close as you get, I think.
Yep, it is.
Nice.
Even more than the Duo. It is more than.
Oh,
the
I was going to say you would think you would get this from a Microsoft device.
You do, but no.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice phone. I like the the stylus. It's really a Note.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's literally a Note. Yeah,
it's literally a Note. Yeah.
A Note by another name.
Yeah. And you get the funny 4.5 camera back, which really looks silly.
I kind of honestly, when that's just there on that flat back, I actually kind of like it.
I have a case on it. See, that's the thing. If I take it out of the case, it stands out a little.
It looks like a spider there.
Yeah, it stands out a little bit more if you take it out of the case.
I kind of like.
It's offset.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I think it looks nice.
Hey, it's the camera system's amazing.
Yeah.
Really, it's amazing.
Yeah, if you like the zoom stuff, they definitely have the best zoom.
Yeah, 100x. And a lot of that's optical, but I have to say it looks pretty darn good. They have a lot of processing in here. So, yeah, it's a pretty nice pretty nice thing. And mainly I wanted to just report that it works well with your phone on Windows 11. It's a very nice combination, I got to say. Could you? I was thinking with the Samsung, couldn't you just put a vanilla Windows on it, like just get rid of all the Samsung stuff, or is that not doable?
So that's what I did. And what's funny is, and I don't understand. So think back to the days when you used to have to do installs locally with like a CD or a DVD, right? One of the little tricks you could do back in the day was you would just make a copy of the plain Microsoft Vanilla Windows installer, whatever version, blow away whatever HP or Dell or Lenovo had done, and you'd be good to go. But realistically, you want to do things like, well, you might want the Samsung updater because whatever, maybe they do firmware updates through there or whatever it is, or you may want this or that, whatever. But you could do like a cloud update of or even a USB based install of the Microsoft version of Windows 11 or 10 or whatever, the Samsung stuff, some of it still comes back. I actually don't understand how that happens.
That's weird.
Like, it's not the full, like if there were 30 to 40 Samsung apps on this thing and I did a clean install. I did this twice actually, but I do a clean install for, in the beginning, it's just like I said, vanilla Windows, but come back in a week and there's like 8 or 9 Samsung apps on there. It's like I don't understand where they're coming from.
Wow.
Like they just kind of, maybe through the app store.
Some sort of weird firmware thing going on. That's weird.
Yeah, well, Microsoft does allow, well, Microsoft allows these companies to modify the installer. And now, you don't get like a CD in the box with a computer anymore, obviously. But they must have made it electronic so it knows what the system is. And when you do the install,
hidden partition,
little alarm goes off somewhere and they start downloading stuff. I'd like to know more about that. I actually,
you don't get the full thing. It's not as bad.
It's
gone as like the Microsoft stores are gone. It's just like, no, forget it. Nope.
Well, so 2 problems with Signature. The Microsoft stores are gone, like I said. But also, there's from a business perspective, the vast majority of retail sales of Windows are going from other companies that are Microsoft's partners, right?
Right.
And they're trying to make a living in a world with the razor-thin margins, and they were not particularly excited about Signature. Although, like I said, like Lenovo kind of went down this path on their own. I don't know if Signature influenced that or not or whatever, but HP and Dell on different lines, business computers tend to be better, but the consumer stuff is still,
I think it's
consumed by a lot of crap.
It's a reflection of the marketplace, and the people who are buying Windows PCs, either are people listening to the show, they're smart enough to know how to remove that stuff, or they don't care.
Yeah, they just don't care.
They're not aware. And I think that's the vast majority. And so,
but you know what? There's an overhead to
this. I would pay $25 more not to have that crap on there. How much do you think they make?
I would too.
$25? Yeah.
It's not just that. So phones are like this too. Phones, tablets, computers. Every time you add anything to it, that's another thing that has to be maintained.
Yeah.
So, you may be, if you're paying a lot for internet access or whatever, your computer's probably sitting there updating apps all day long, every day. That's not necessarily what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I would like everything I have to be as clean as it can be. Even like, Apple people won't like this. You buy a new iPhone, that thing comes with 37 Apple apps on it or whatever. 3 home screens. It's like chock full of apps.
Yeah.
Now, are they more useful than Samsung apps or Microsoft? Yeah, maybe some of them. But I mean, it's still a lot of, I don't want to call it crap, but it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Come on, go ahead. Call it crap.
It's crap. A lot of it is crap. Well, I remove a lot of it. I mean, I understand. But I think people are just accepting of this stuff.
They don't care.
I think HP is one of the worst.
Oh, yeah. They always have
anytime you get
been.
a new HP PC, there's so much HP
notorious.
stuff on there.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, it depends. It depends on the line, and it depends on the market, right? Like the EliteBook stuff is usually is great, but they're more expensive. These are computers that are sold to businesses. They have 3-year warranties. They start over $1,000, But yeah, if you spend $800 on a an NV something or a Pavilion, you're gonna they're gonna get paid somehow. I mean.
Yeah. Sadly. Sadly true.
What else we got?
You were talking about
reset this PC.
Yeah.
This is worth talking about, actually. It's worrisome, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't write about this. Somebody else did on our site. So I don't know a ton directly about this. But an MVP discovered that when you wipe certain Windows 10 and Windows 11 PCs, not all of your data is gone. But not everyone, like some people for some reason. Not everyone, though, which is kind of weird. And now Microsoft's acknowledging this is true. And they say... in order to make sure this doesn't happen, you have to disconnect OneDrive from your account before you wipe the PC.
Which is hilarious because now they're requiring you to sign into a Microsoft account, which is how you get that OneDrive integration.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is concerning to me because I think about all these PCs in the past year or 2 years that I've returned to various vendors.
Right.
And I'm sure I didn't wipe them right. And so my data might have been on them.
Well, I'm sure you actually did wipe them right, but they didn't. Maybe they didn't, work right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
It's concerning, right? I mean, because when you do a back to factory reset or whatever it's called, like when you say, I want to wipe the whole thing, my apps, all the data, everything, you assume all the data gets wiped, but this is saying it does not.
Well, you assume because it tells you that's what's happening. In fact, there's a process you go through where it takes a long time, but it says, don't worry, but we're going to encrypt this thing. It's going to be great, and maybe you're selling it, maybe you're returning it, maybe whatever, you're giving it away, whatever it is. Like you don't want this thing to end up in a pawn shop and then have someone, grab your personal data off of it. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, they are going to fix it.
Soon, TM. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Anyway.
Yeah, you do need that. No, you need that. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's something people come to expect now because all the phones do it. So, everything, all your devices now really have to do that, I think. They really have to do that.
I don't remember when this debuted. Was it Windows 8, this feature? I thought this is a good feature.
Pretty recent.
Yeah.
Pretty recent. Mary Jo, Microsoft 365.
Yes. So as of March 1st, which was yesterday, Microsoft was supposed to be raising the prices on many of their business Office 365 subscriptions. This wasn't new. We knew this was coming. They announced it 6 months ago, and they said the reason was that in the 10 plus years since they introduced Office 365, they had almost never done a substantive price increase. So it was time because they've added so many new apps and features. And also, by the way, Google's raised the price of their competitor. So why shouldn't we raise our price? So what was interesting was on Monday, when was this? Yeah, Monday, Microsoft quietly told some of its partners, reseller partners, okay, we're going to give you 2 more weeks to get this thing through, this price increase thing through, because they claim there's so many customers who are talking to their resellers about trying to get in under the old price for 1 more year before these new price increases take effect, that they were overwhelmed. And so they're giving the partners 2 more weeks until March 15th to get all this done. The price increase takes effect whenever your subscription renews. So if your subscription renewed on March 1st, it would be on March 1st. But it starts March 1st. So anytime after March 1st this year, you're going to pay quite a bit more for many of those subscriptions. I can't say 20% more across the board. It's very different for different ones. So, like something like Microsoft 365 Business Basics is going from $5 a month to $6 a month per user. And then all the way up to Microsoft 365 E3, you're going from $32 to $36 a month, and people are like, okay, so it's $4 more a month. Well, when you have a lot of users in your company, this is a pretty big price increase, right? Like, this is big. The price increase is going to happen. It's taking effect somewhere between this week and March 15th. So once your subscription renews after that, you are going to pay these new prices. So here's who's not affected. No consumers. They didn't increase the price for consumers. They also didn't increase the price of E5, their most expensive one, which is $57 per user per month. I think they decided, you know what, we're making a lot of money on that one. We're not going to increase the price on that one. And then there's a few other various plans that are not affected. But if you're a consumer, don't worry. If you're somebody who uses most of the business plans like Office 365 E1, E3, E5, you are affected. So you might want to go check your price information price list and just know what you're going to be paying because the price increase is coming.
Same for, I have like the home user.
Yeah.
$8
you won't be affected.
I don't have to worry about that. Okay.
No, you don't.
Remember a month or so ago, Google finally realized they had these legacy Gmail or G Suite accounts.
Yeah.
They announced, hey, by the way, you guys are going to have to start paying for this. I was shocked by how many people complained about this. Like these, and I should say, to be clear, these were not people like individuals that were just taking advantage of like a free custom domain account or whatever. These like businesses with multiple users, and they're freaking out because, like you said, this is not $5 a month. It's $5 to $6 a month per user.
Right.
And these are probably small businesses. They might have 5 users. They might have 20 users, whatever. And it's a lot of money. But to me, so wait a minute. You've been running a business off of a free legacy Gmail. What did you think was going to happen? Like, of course you have to pay for this, Even I keep saying this, my small company, which doesn't have a lot of money, we pay for these type of accounts. I mean, that's it's a business. What are you talking about? Like, it's amazing to me. But it's still shocking. I still get email, and I know people will hear this and not like it, but I get email from people still. Can you recommend something else that's free?
Yeah,
it's like,
well, there is.
For an individual, I can. Yeah, but not for a business.
Yeah,
you have to pay for the domain. You have to pay for the accounts.
Yeah,
Paul. LibreOffice.
LibreOffice, baby. Yep. It's free. Okay. It's in the name.
Does that right?
It's fine. And frankly, I think a lot of businesses, including ours, use Google.
Yes.
Because we're already paying for. It's not like we're not paying for it, but we already pay for Google Workspace, and so we use Sheets and the word processor.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, that's what these guys were doing. They were just doing it for free.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, what do you think is...
Right.
I don't know. I just, you can't expect something like that to be free. You can't expect it to be free, period.
A big one for me, we kind of got conditioned to not pay for email. That baffles me. That is, arguably the single most important technology for any business is its email.
Sure.
And to say, but I don't want to pay for it.
Right.
It's mostly.
But I do want my company's name to be on it.
Yeah.
It's like you are talking about two very different things here.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think you should pay for email. You don't have to pay for a word processor.
Yeah, but you're paying. But there's no such thing. Well, there is. But really, in Google, Microsoft, whatever, you're not paying for email. You're paying for email plus storage plus mostly. Collaboration plus.
Right.
Increasingly, these guys are acting as if the storage is the paid product, and everything else just supports the storage, right?
But sure, that's fine. They can market it however they want, but
OneDrive. They push that hard. Every time I use Windows, I go, "Wow, they really push OneDrive on you."
Yep.
Not that Apple doesn't push iCloud on you.
And that was I will never forget, after some Microsoft event, I was talking to Steven Sinofsky in front of the stage, and he was telling me Microsoft would never get into the storage business, that it was like a fool's game. It was just a bottomless pit of never-ending storage, and why on earth would Microsoft want any part of that?
Yeah. Well, he was. And
it's like the primary thing they're marketing now.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he made sense when he said it. I was like, I don't. Why? Like, who would want to build data centers full of hard drives?
But in a way, that also explains why they push it so hard, because there's an economy of scale that just doesn't work unless you have everybody.
But you also have to replicate it. You have to make it geographically diverse.
Yeah.
It's really expensive.
They have a lot of data centers. They're like Amazon, right? Like they're using up their excess capacity, I feel like.
Yeah, it almost feels like, we'd have these anyway.
Yeah.
So let's monetize them, somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Speaking of which, OneDrive is now M1 Mac compatible. Yeah.
And it only took. So, when did the M1 ship? Like a year ago, October? or something?
This is the second year of the transition. Yeah.
I bought a Mac Mini at that time to test this out. Like everyone else in our, the performance is fantastic. Blah blah. This works great. This is fine. Legacy apps work fine. The only problem I had was OneDrive.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. Like the performance was horrific.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't use a Mac regularly, of course, but I went back and, I go back every once in a while. I link up with OneDrive. It's never been good.
Right.
So this should solve that problem. Finally, was 15 months later, 16.
Everybody's pretty much converted to M1 except a handful of programs.
Well, but the M1 promise is the Intel stuff should still work pretty well.
Yeah.
The problem is for something that's integrating with the file system.
Yeah, you kind of need it to.
Whatever else. You need native. Yeah.
By the way, Apple announced this morning, for those of you not paying attention, they are having an event on Tuesday. We weren't sure if they were because of the Ukraine situation, but they are. And I thought it was kind of interesting. The invitation has a little pun. It says peak performance, but it's spelled P-E-E-K. I think it's going to be. I think they're going to show off an AR product, which will be very interesting.
Do you really?
Yeah.
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 Wow.
I think that invitation indicates that. As in, we're going to give you a peek at something we're working on. Probably won't be available later this year. But I mean,
it worked out great with that wireless charging thing they were going to do. So
yeah, you know, you might wonder why they would change their policy and never saying anything until they can ship it. But I think they got to get developers on board, and so there is a kind of an urgency to show it.
I think that they're going to do a good job in the consumer space with that.
Yep.
It'll be interesting.
Sure.
You know, a lot of people, including Microsoft, have kind of broken their ships upon the shoals of AR, VR.
Yes, they have.
So Apple's going to take their turn. And the reason I thought of this is I think they'll probably announce a new Mac Mini. We're all waiting for that. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, with a new, more powerful. A Mac Mini.
Now the OneDrive works, maybe I can think about using it again.
You see? Finally.
Yep.
Hey, I want to show you something. Our show today brought to you by Canary, from Thinkst. The Canary, this is it. I'm holding a Canary in my hands here. This thing is the coolest little security device. I don't know if I've talked about it on Windows Weekly before. We talk about it all the time on Security Now. In fact, Security Now, way back when we first started, I think it was show number 2, we were talking about something called honeypots. The idea being something on your network or on the public internet that looks valuable, looks desirable, but is in fact a trap for bad guys. That's what this is. Now, honeypots, traditionally hard to implement, tricky. This thing is a honeypot appliance, which is so clever. On average, companies don't know about breaches on their networks for 191 days, more than 6 months. That means 6 months the bad guy's wandering around your network. Look what just happened to NVIDIA. They survived the ransomware, but now they're slowly leaking more and more personal information. That's because they got into NVIDIA's network, and before triggering the ransomware, they exfiltrated as much information as they could. It's embarrassing. It's costly. This little box, it looks like an appliance. It's about the size of smaller than a Mac Mini, bigger than a deck of cards, somewhere in between. Doesn't take much power. It's connected, as you can see, hardwired to our network. It doesn't look like a honeypot. To an attacker, anybody roaming our network, this looks like, I've configured it to look like a Synology NAS with a MAC address to match with the proper login so that they attempt to log in. But instead of getting into my NAS and getting all my files, all they've done is trigger an alert that lets me know there's an intruder in the network. But here's the thing. It can look like almost anything. A Windows server, a Linux server. It can be a Christmas tree with all of the services turned on, or you can just turn on a few simple services, trying not to attract too much attention. It can look like, a SCADA device. It can look like, you can enroll it in Active Directory. The idea is to make it look real, right? Not make it look vulnerable, just make it look valuable. You can deploy them throughout your entire network. It can look like a router. It can look like a switch. Attackers won't even know they've been caught. The other thing you can do with these, which is great, is you can create files, canary tokens they call them, which are like little tripwires spread out through your network. They can be PDFs or docs, or look like PDFs or docs or any kind of file. For instance, I might have some spreadsheets, some .xls files spread around that say things like employee information or payroll information. They're not real. As soon as you open them, it connects to the canary on your network, so it doesn't even look like weird traffic, and the canary then contacts you. And by the way, no false alarms. The alerts are exactly what you need when you need. You can have it configured any way you want them. Email, text messages. You get a console when you get a Canary. You can do it through Slack, through webhooks, syslog. They have an API. So it's very flexible. But the key is you're going to know if somebody's in your network. Now, one is not enough. I guess if you're a small operation, you can have one, a handful. Some big banks and other corporations have hundreds of them. They're deployed all over the world on every single continent. Really, the tool you need, look, we've always said security is a layered process, and I'm sure you have other security things. But a lot of times people say we're protecting the perimeter and then just forget about what happens once somebody gets in. This is inside the perimeter. This is going to let you know if somebody's got in. This is a very important device. Well named, too. It's like the canary in the coal mine. You can find out more at canary.tools. Canary.tools/twit, created by a team of experts who have trained companies, militaries, and governments how to break into networks for decades. That was how they thought of this and they built this. Pricing, I'll give you an example. If you say you want 5 of them, medium-sized business probably should have, you spread them out all over the place. $7,500 a year. You get the 5 canaries. You get your own hosted console, all the upgrades, the support, the maintenance. All you have to do if you decide you want to try these out is put TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box, and you'll get 10% off for life. It's a lot of savings, and not just for the first year, but for life. And I will reassure you, if you're at all skeptical, 2 months money back guarantee for a full refund. Now, I should tell you, if you're in luck, if things are going well, you'll never hear from your canary. It's dead silent. It only alerts you when there's a problem. That's what you want. Canary.tools/twit. Offer code is TWIT for 10% off for your forever. Canary.tools/twit. This is something everybody should have. I don't talk about it enough on this show. We talk about it on Security Now all the time. Really, really great tool. Thank you, Canary, for your support. And thank you, by the way, for using that address and the offer code. That way they know. It came from Windows Weekly. Canary.tools/twit. Offer code TWIT. All right, I have to go now because you know what? Can you hear all the noise? We've reopened the offices. And in order to entice people, we're not making people come back to work. We've done a lot of things. It's been 2 years. It was March 17th, 2 years ago.
Yep.
We sent everybody home. They've been gone for 2 years. We're telling them they can come back if they want to. And we have also established a 4-day work week now. So they do 4 10s or 4 9s, I think. So we want to make life a little bit better. But we really do want, they're not making them come back, but we want people back. We miss them. It's been empty here. So you can hear some voices. We're having a pizza party, trying to, pizza gets everybody back. All the geeks come back. So that's what's going on. If you hear a little noise in the background.
I have not heard anything.
Good. And you don't have pizza in Mexico City. Can you survive without pizza?
There is in fact a pizza place.
Sushi, pizza.
Right across the street from where we're.
Is the best food Mexican food though? I mean, or no?
Yeah, and it's surprisingly diverse. I think to what people, expect.
Real Mexican food is not burritos and tacos. Real Mexican food is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You've got one of the best restaurants.
I'm going to become a mole expert. That's going to be my next book. The mole feature.
Yeah. The guy who taught, I took a cooking class when we were in Oaxaca from the guy who taught Pujol how to make mole. And we made mole.
Nice. He's doing pretty good with it.
Oh, yeah.
It's complicated, right? Like it's not a simple sauce.
30 or 40 ingredients.
Yeah.
Oh, and everyone's different. And by the way, it's never the same twice. So you can't,
That's right.
There's different kinds.
Well, then the Pujol guy ages it. So the one you're eating that day could be 2,700 days old or whatever.
It's so good.
It's incredible.
It's so good. I'm so jealous. A little serious news. I saw this. I don't think it's widely known. We've talked about it before. Satya Nadella's son had cerebral palsy.
That's right.
And it's one of the reasons I think Nadella was so focused on accessibility at Microsoft. But sad news, he's passed away. He was 25, I think.
26, I thought. But 20.
Very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say there. Just it's sad.
Yeah. Our condolences and our thoughts going out to Mr. Nadella.
Yeah,
26,
for sure.
I always thought of Satya as a very deep, kind of serious guy, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of this is because
he's spoken about it, and
he wrote about it in his book. Hit refresh.
Yeah.
So Zain Nadella passed away at the age of 26.
I like the quote about him. This is the CEO of Seattle Children's Hospital who said, Zain will be remembered for his eclectic taste in music, his bright, sunny smile, and the immense joy he brought to his family and all those who loved him. Nice.
Very
so
nice.
hard. I don't think there could be anything harder than losing a child. That's just terrible.
For sure.
Terrible. Okay, what else? What else is going on?
Well, despite the fact that Apple's having an event next week, Russia is still attacking the Ukraine.
Oh, yeah,
and
that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Microsoft had an interesting announcement where they had detected a series of cyber attacks from Russia on the Ukraine and provided the Ukraine with the information they would need to thwart it.
Good. Good.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing.
It's really amazing, isn't it? Even Switzerland.
Even Switzerland.
Yeah. Even
that's a great art. Even Switzerland is an awesome episode title. But yes. Yeah.
Right there, Ben. Yeah. That's another one. Our hearts bleed for the people of Ukraine.
Yeah.
It's just.
You kind of look at the calendar and think, what year is this? What is going on here?
I know, right? Oof.
Well, what I'm finding fascinating, I mean, it's hard to find anything. There's no good news in a story like this. But what I'm finding fascinating is how different war is nowadays, thanks to, in a lot of ways, consumer-grade technology. One thing that didn't happen, may still happen, we were very worried about, is a cyber war breaking out, kind of a cold war between the U.S. and Russia. They have not apparently used all of the tools we thought they would against Ukraine, possibly because Ukraine's defenses have been hardened because Russia has been going after Ukraine like a little dog, nipping at its heels for years, knocking out the power, bringing down the banks. They DDoSed the banks before the invasion began. And it's thought, there was an article today in the Washington Post that maybe Ukraine has better cyber defenses than even we do, and they've been protecting themselves. But it's also interesting to see Russia trying to shut down Facebook and Twitter, Wikipedia, people using Google Maps to follow the war, a professor and his students were able to say with some certainty that Russia was imminently about to invade because they could see traffic congestion and road closures on Google Maps. Technology's changed the face of war. In a way, even since shock and awe in Iraq, things are very, very different. It's not just a TV war anymore; it's an internet war. I thought that was very interesting. Right. Yeah. But a lot of good going on all the U.S. companies who have, and the people of America who have stood up, and it's really I thought it was very. Encouraging to see all the Ukraine flags on Congress, members of Congress, people dressed in gold and yellow and gold and blue and all of that. We're following with both dismay and interest what's happening in Ukraine right now. It kind of takes the fun out of Call of Duty, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe just make sure you're shooting the Russians. I don't know. I'm
taking the week off.
Yeah,
so.
I think so. You don't bring an Xbox down with you when you go to Mexico?
No. You'll be surprised to know there are other things to do. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good for you. Maybe that's why Stephanie keeps making you go down there.
Right.
Get some fresh air.
Yep.
Some Xbox news. I'll let you take it away, Paul, before we get to the back.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. This one is actually really cool to me. And in Forza Horizon 5 only right now, getting a free in fact, the free update has now happened, that has support for American and British Sign Language for in-game cinematics, right? And the video showing how this works is kind of amazing because they show the beginning of the game and it's all the race sounds and the music's playing in the background and there are subtitles that say engine revving and music playing, and it slowly kind of fades out to silence and it says, this is how some people experience this game. And then they bring in a sign language person to describe what's going on in the game in a, kind of a little picture-in-picture effect. It's nice. It's just it's a really nice thing. And I hope we start to see more of this, across other video games. So that's kind of cool. It's something I talked to my son about, my son is deaf, but he has cochlear implants. But he doesn't hear directionally. And what that means is, you could be off to the left and call him, and he kind of looks around and he doesn't know which direction you're coming from. So in a video game, one of the things like, Call of Duty or whatever, sounds happen in directions, from directions, and it helps. You can hear someone coming up behind you. You can hear an explosion and know what direction it is, and I always kind of thought having some kind of a textual prompt to that stuff might be kind of interesting. And I think we're going to see more of this kind of stuff. It just seems like an obvious thing to do to make games more accessible.
It's so cool. That's so great.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah.
So that's cool. It's a new month. So obviously we have new Game Pass and new Xbox games with gold titles. The Game Pass stuff is particularly interesting because Flight Simulator is now available, meaning you can play Flight Simulator on an Xbox One, right? So this is a game that's not natively compatible on Xbox One, but if you have a Game Pass subscription, you can play it on Xbox One now. So that's cool. I don't actually recognize most of these other games, although I will mention Lawn Mowing Simulator is available for you people that
don't get enough lawn mowing.
Can't get enough. I don't know.
That's hysterical.
Weird. Games with gold. Nothing stands out here for me either, unfortunately. But Street Power, Soccer. There's a SpongeBob. I don't know. This stuff's not. These aren't my kind of games. But $90 worth of games coming free if you have an Xbox Game Pass or Ultimate or Xbox Live Gold account. So that's always cool. In bigger news, Valve has just finally launched their portable gaming device, which is really exciting and seems to be getting good reviews and so forth. And Gabe Newell, who I'm kind of iffy on, I kind of go back and forth on this guy, mostly because he never finished the Half-Life games, and I'm still upset about that. But as the owner of Steam, which is the biggest game service, I guess I'll call it, on the PC, he's been a target of Epic, Microsoft, et cetera, with rival services and everything. But he said this past week he would be open to the idea of making Microsoft Xbox Game Pass available via Steam. That's cool. So this is neat because you might have expected him to kind of dig in his heels. Microsoft's trying to buy Activision Blizzard. I mean, maybe this is where there's some pushback occurs, but actually it looks like this could be moving in a good direction. So that's cool. And if you care about this kind of thing, Amazon Luna, which most people have probably never heard of, is now generally available. This is Amazon's game streaming service. I will say this, of the available game streaming services, which the top level ones are Game Pass, Stadia, and Luna, and maybe GeForce Now, but let's say those three. Honestly, Luna offers the best, meaning lowest latency.
Oh,
if you use it with a Luna controller.
Because
you can use any controller you want.
Controller.
It actually works really well.
Yeah,
it's worth looking at. It's gotten better. I mean, one of the interesting things about this service is they didn't really have a lot of it. It wasn't super competitive from like a volume or quality level, but it's improved pretty dramatically over the past year. So it's been kind of stepped in. Prime members could sign up to get on the list, and Prime was open to Prime. Now it's just open to everybody. So they have different pricing. Obviously it's Amazon, so if you have a Prime membership, it's less expensive.
Yeah, there's some free Prime stuff, and then early adopters this month, I think it's $5.99.
Yeah,
a month.
It's worth looking at.
Bad.
I mean, if most people have an Amazon something, Prime subscription. It's worth checking out.
Can't play Elden Ring on it yet, but other than that,
right. It's I think Luna and Stadia both, I think, suffer from a problem where there just isn't enough unique stuff on either one of these services. But
at least with Luna, you don't have to buy the game.
It is cheap. It is. Yeah. I think it's like $6 a month.
That was a bad choice by Google on that, making you buy the game.
Yeah, but at least they've really paid attention to it ever since.
Oh, yeah, right. Put a lot of effort into that, yeah.
I don't know what they're doing. Honestly, Stadia is good technology. Anyway, I wish they'd pay a little more attention to it, but oh well.
I presume all three, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, are doing this because, it's a show-offy thing for the cloud and all that, right?
Yeah, but it's also the future of gaming, I think, mainstream gaming. I mean...
maybe the future of computing in some respects.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's absolutely true. Yeah, there are these kind of hardcore enclaves of gaming, PC gaming, console gaming, which honestly are not giant numbers, but the PC is particularly lucrative though. But I'd say mainstream gaming today is on phones, right? And I think this is these services are a way to bring console or PC class games down to mobile, which is really interesting.
Also to Mac,
and then
we've been kind of losing out on this stuff.
Or to Linux, or to whatever.
Linux,
And that continuation thing, which I think is so important, if you're really into playing games and you're at home, you have a beautiful, huge screen, and you've got a dedicated device attached to it. You play there, and then it's time to commute to work because that's happening again, or you're going on a trip. You can play on your phone or your tablet. It's good stuff. This is definitely the future for sure.
Yeah, really interesting. All right, let's take a break. We are going to go to the back of the book in just a second. Paul Thurrott, Mary Jo Foley. We're talking Microsoft on Windows Weekly. So glad you're here. Especially glad we have a whole pizza party and nobody showed up. So come on over, have some pizza with us.
Sure.
Our evil plan to get people to come to work apparently didn't work. I don't know. Boy, you know that people really want to work from home when they don't come in for pizza. That's a giveaway. Our show today brought to you by Intel, orchestrated by the experts at CDW. They understand that to keep up with changing business needs, organizations of all sizes need to stay secure, stay connected, stay protected, and that takes powerful processors built for today and tomorrow. Like Intel's built for business 11th Gen Intel Core V Pro processors. The 11th Gen Intel Core V Pro processors provide you with the performance, security, and remote manageability needed to continually move forward and stay productive, even while on the go. CDW works with Intel to provide the right technology to fuel productivity and innovation. CDW can assess your distributed workforce and their needs and implement the Intel vPro platform and configure devices powered by 11th Gen Intel Core vPro processors, accelerating digital business transformation. Let's talk about some of the benefits of Intel 11th Gen Core vPro processors. Like performance, a new processor core architecture delivers increased overall application performance. That means less time waiting, more productivity from anywhere, compatible with Wi-Fi 6 to prevent delays, built-in AI that accelerates apps and optimizes speed. And of course, security is paramount these days. Intel's Hardware Shield builds in protection, detecting and preventing malware and network threats without sacrificing performance. And of course, one of the great benefits of vPro is remote manageability, cloud-based or hardware-based management for IT leaders, consistent features across notebooks, desktops, and workstations within a business. You're going to love that. For increased performance and security, trust Intel and IT orchestration by CDW, people who get it. Learn more at cdw.com/Intel Client. That's cdw.com/Intel Client. We thank CDW so much for supporting the Windows Weekly Show. The Windows Weekly Show. Back we go on the Windows Weekly Show to the back of the book with the tips of the week from Mr. Paulie Thurrott.
Yeah, 2 tips this week. I thought I was going to have an app pick, but turns out the announcement is next week. So we'll move on to that. I mentioned earlier that Windows 11 is starting to get interesting, and I think it's time for people to start taking a look at it. So most listening to the show are probably familiar with the Windows Insider program. I mentioned in the notes originally you should sign up to the dev channel, but Mary Jo put a little, what is that, a puking devil emoticon or something? So
no, it's an angry devil. Angry devil.
Puking devil. Angry devil.
Not puking devil.
Okay, with a purple face. So I guess you can choose between the dev and the beta channel. If you're specifically interested in what is coming in the first feature update, that is the beta channel, actually. And if you want to look at some possibly more experimental features that may or may not make it, that's the dev channel. I've got PCs in both now. I like what I say. The thing you need to understand is you probably, almost certainly, are going to have to wipe this thing using not the PC race. That's what we just mentioned, but the downloadable media and, wipe it from space, so to speak, because there's no way to back out of these things. But you know what? You're smart enough to do this. You got this. It's okay. It's not hard. But I think this is the time. So if you didn't upgrade to Windows 11 or you weren't super impressed by Windows 11, take a look at it now because it's gotten better for sure. As I mentioned earlier, it's the new month, and I'm trying to do a programming project every month this year. I'm starting off really slow because I have these older programming projects I want to modernize. So I mentioned the .NET Pad, the Windows Forms version of .NET Pad, which I had brought to GitHub last month, or actually originally in January. That was actually very difficult. I was surprised by how much work I had to do to make that presentable to the public. But for this month, I'm going to do the Windows Presentation Foundation version, which is my favorite version of the app. And I actually did this on the plane ride coming here, if you can believe that. It is in great shape. Unlike the other app, this one is in great shape. It's nicely documented with comments. The code is very clean. The app runs properly the first time out of the box. I didn't have to do anything there. It has some features that I actually added to the WinForms thing last month that are already in the WPF version. I had forgotten that was the case. So it's not on GitHub today, but it will be on GitHub within the next couple of days. I want Raphael to look at it just to make sure he knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. I just want to make sure there are no scaling issues. There's this is absolutely the best version of the app, and it's probably a very good candidate for modernization. So I'm definitely, the thing I did on the plane was add some features to it myself, which is some of the stuff I'd added to the WinForms version, and just went through the code really closely. And like I said, it seems to be in great shape. So
would you say
that will be coming.
is easier to write for than?
I did not say that. It is not easier. So WPF is in some ways more powerful than Windows Forms. It is slightly more modern in that it came out in 2006 versus 2001. It is fully supported today, though. It's still, if you want to create a modern, now they have a slightly more modern way to do this. If you want to create a desktop app, is maybe the way I would say it. This is actually still the best way to do it. And the XAML stuff is incredibly powerful for building the UIs.
This is nice because you're putting code examples in.
Yeah, just kind of showing some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. And he did it all on an airplane, folks. Yeah. Which, by the way, is more impressive than it seems because you don't get access to any of the documentation when you're flying. That's true.
But
doesn't Visual Studio have a local copy of stuff for you?
Well, you can install. I haven't installed that since back when it used to be called like MSDN, documentation or whatever. But I didn't. I don't have it anyway. But the point is not that doesn't mean I'm like smart. It means this version of the app is actually in really good shape. Like it didn't require me to look any. Like it was already in really good shape. So I think in the next couple of days I'll have that up on GitHub. So I will post when that happens, and you can play with it to your heart's content. You forking little forkers.
Ooh, ow.
Yep. Well, that's GitHub's language, not mine.
You little forkers. Now, enterprise territory with Mary Jo Foley and her pick of the week.
Okay, first, before I do my pick, I'm going to give you a breaking news story.
Uh-oh.
Miguel Diaz-Casa is leaving Microsoft.
Oh.
As you predicted. You predicted this just last week.
I did, yeah.
Where is he? Does he say where he's going?
So during the show, I've been back and forth with him on TweetDeck. I'm like, where are you going? Come on. Right. And he said he's going to take a break and just take a rest, hang out with his kids, play around with some products. And he said when he comes back, he's very highly likely to join a startup, but he has nothing to announce at this time.
That's
Isn't he from Mexico City originally?
Yeah, he is. Yep.
And then he lived in Boston. Interesting.
Yep.
He's following
Still lives
Paul
in Boston now.
Everywhere.
Yep.
I am starting something with Paul Thurrott in Mexico.
Exactly.
I'm writing a book.
What a weird coincidence.
It's a gas delivery service.
We're going to create a notepad replacement using .NET technologies.
Exactly.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of interesting. Just and the way I found out was I saw Brad Sam say, "I think Miguel Diaz-Casa is leaving Microsoft," and I'm like, "Oh, I was right. Okay." Yep. So Brad was correct.
Actually, had we talked about this publicly, or did we talk about this privately? Because I had recommended to Mary Jo a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
That she should listen to those
Richard
.NET
Campbell.
Rocks podcasts, in particular the one with Miguel de Casa, because he had mentioned the semi-secretive thing he was working on at the time. And I said, you might want to listen to this because it's not clear to me what he's doing at Microsoft, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't remember if we actually...
he was working on Onyx. Onyx is an AI standard for machine language models. Kind of an odd thing for him to be working on after his background with Xamarin. But that's what he was most recently doing, as far as I know. So anyway, just a little breaking news item before the pick.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Me neither. Same. Once Nat Friedman left late last year when he resigned as CEO of GitHub and said he was going back to the startup world, I'm like, I bet Miguel's going to do the same thing.
He was at Microsoft for actually a surprisingly long time.
Yeah, 6 years. So that is a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
They acquired his company, and normally there's a lock-in for a few years. But
I mean, Microsoft had been trying to hire him since 2002, 2003.
Yeah. Yep.
Very talented, nice guy. Good.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Meanwhile, back to the enterprise. Yes, pick of the week.
Yeah, so Microsoft did a blog post this week that I thought was very helpful. It's on the Windows Server blog. And it says, get the most out of Windows Server with these 5 best practices. And, sometimes I feel like Windows Server gets the short shrift, and it really should not, because many IT pros still maintain their own servers. Even if they're using the cloud, they still have their own servers. And so these 5 tips they're nothing brand new, but they're all things that it's kind of like a checklist. Make sure you know about these things. So one of them is, did you know there's a Windows Server hybrid administrator certification you can get now? We've talked about that on Windows Weekly before. They have a hot patching mechanism available, generally available now, that's part of Azure Auto Manage for Windows Server. So if you're interested in not having to reboot after patching, there's a way to do that with Windows Server. Windows Server 2022 exists. I remember when Microsoft announced this last year, it was kind of a bit of a botched announcement. They did it in parts, and it was very hard to figure out, was it generally available, was it not? So that's the latest on-premises version long-term servicing channel of Windows Server, and that is available right now. And then, just like with Windows 7, there is a way to have extended security updates for different versions of Windows Server. So they have a bit about that and which versions and how long you can buy not hot patches. You could buy security patches for older versions. And then I'm sure most people know this, but there is a thing called the Azure Hybrid Benefit that lets you use your on-premises credits to pay for cloud services. So this is all in one handy-dandy blog post with links. So if any of those sound like, I should find out about that, they're all on the Windows Server blog this week.
Very nice. Good tips. And that's not all. There's more.
There is.
Enterprise pick 2.
Yeah, this is more like an SMB, small, mid-sized business pick. But there's a version of Microsoft 365 called Microsoft 365 Business Premium that's about $22 per user per month for people who want to have like up to 300 users on this version of Microsoft 365. That does include many, many apps and services. But this week, you get even more. You get Defender for Business added to your subscription starting now. So, you don't have to pay extra. It's going to just be rolled into your subscription. So if you're interested in extra security and you're a business premium customer or thinking about business premium, you may want to check that new added benefit out. And if you don't want to buy the whole Microsoft 365 Business Premium subscription, Microsoft is going to turn Defender for Business, which is for companies with 300 or fewer employees, into a standalone offer later this year. I don't know what the price is going to be on that, but it's coming later.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't know what to think about this beer pick of the week, but I'm gonna let you do it.
I have questions myself.
I have thoughts. Yes.
Okay. So yesterday was Mardi Gras.
Woo!
And since we're not in New Orleans, can't enjoy a New Orleans beverage there, I was looking for something to have on Mardi Gras. And it turns out one of my favorite breweries here in New York, Other Half, did a partnership with Parish Brewing in Louisiana. And they came up with this thing called Gravity Gumbo. So that what this is a stout. They call it a pastry stout, and you'll see why in a minute. They add to the stout. It's at first it's aged in bourbon barrels, so already high alcohol, very sweet. Then they throw in some chicory coffee and then add pralines and pecans and vanilla. Mix it all together. Let it brew into this.
That actually
thick,
sounds good.
Dark beer. 14.5%. So I only had a very small pour of this yesterday.
Do they serve this in a shot glass?
So you had a choice of 4 ounces or 8 ounces. So I went with the 4. And I'll tell you, the craziest thing about this beer is it tastes like pralines. Definitely, you could taste that.
I love pralines.
Yeah, really, but very sweet because of that. A lot of vanilla. I couldn't really taste the chicory, but I could taste the coffee. I definitely could taste the bourbon. So I was like, 4%, that's plenty on that pour for me.
4 ounces,
but it was, it was still fun to have something for Mardi Gras that was like, a little bit of New Orleans in your glass. And this week in New York, it's New York Beer Week. So it was even better because you could celebrate Beer Week with something for Mardi Gras.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Laissez les bon temps rouler. Yep. Well, wonderful, Mary Jo Foley and Paul Thurrott. A very good job wrapping up the week that was. If you want to watch us do this show live, you can. We do it Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's why I'm confused. I never know when.
Well, I think you're focused on Tuesday right now.
Yeah, next Tuesday. Luckily, not Wednesday.
Won't impact you at all. Yeah.
Yep.
Might impact my credit card, however. Watch live at live, all of our shows. And even when we're not on the air, there's always something going on at live.twit.tv. If you're there watching live, you can chat live at irc.twit.tv. Of course, Club Twit members get their own Discord channel. That's a lot of fun in there. That Discord is always something's happening. Whether it's Stacy's Book Club or Untitled Linux Show or GizFizz or whatever. If you want to know more about Club Twit, get ad-free versions of all of our shows. Join the Discord, twit.tv/Club Twit. Actually, it's also useful for us because it's where we can try out new shows. And for the last few weeks, we've been kind of previewing, beta testing a new show, This Week in Space. And it will appear in public on Friday with my friend Rod Pyle, who's the editor-in-chief of the National Space Society magazine Ad Astra, and Tariq Malik, who is at space.com. And they're going to talk about space. It's audio only, thanks to the members of Club Twit who helped us beta test it for more than a month. Twit.tv/TWIS, This Week in Space, goes live on Friday. And again, Club Twit members, thank you for that. If you want to join, twit.tv/Club Twit. Of course, we always will continue to offer our shows on demand for free at twit.tv. In the case of Windows Weekly, it's twit.tv/WW. There's also a dedicated YouTube channel with the videos there. Or you can subscribe to the audio or video show and get it automatically with your favorite podcast client. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review so that the world can hear about the goodness that is Windows Weekly. Thanks, Paul. Have fun in Mexico City.
Thank you.
Let us know if you decide to move there. We can
I'll come down and visit.
We can start doing the show from there. Yeah.
Sure.
Gosh, that's it was. So this was unplanned. You just picked up and went.
Well, I don't know. It's been a progression. When the pandemic started, we started researching other things, and Mexico kind of happened, and then I don't know. It's we'd like to split our time between two different places. So.
I think that's a good idea. Well, as the wealthy do, you need a summer home and a winter home.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just tired of winter. I can't. I can't.
I know.
I can't deal with it.
It's no good. It's no good.
And I don't want to go to Florida. I'm sorry.
No, Mexico City. How fun is that?
Yeah.
How fun is that?
I need the reverse. I'm tired of the summer. I hate summer.
It's really hot in New York. Yeah.
It's so hot and horrible and stinky and gross.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I need a place I can go get out of here in the summer.
You could stay in Paul's place in Mexico City. He doesn't want to be there this summer.
Right.
I don't want to make any promise. Let's sign checks and stuff. But yeah, I mean, sure.
Perfect. Oh, man. Thank you, both of you. It's great to have you. Paul Thurrott's website is thurrott.com, THURROTT.com. His books are at leanpub.com, including the Field Guide to Windows 10. Mary Jo Foley blogs for ZDNet at allaboutmicrosoft.com. And without them, why, this show would be all about Linux. So it's a good thing they're here, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Thank you.
Yeah,
Paul.
no, I feel good about it.
Thank you, Mary Jo. Enjoy life in Mexico City and New York City, two of the world's great metropolises.
Thanks.
And we'll see you next week on Windows Weekly.
If you are looking for a midweek update on the week's tech news, I got to tell you, you got to check out Tech News Weekly. See, it's all kind of built in there with the title. You get to learn about the news in tech that matters. Every Thursday, Jason Howell and I talk to the people making and breaking the tech news, get their insights and their interesting stories. It's a great show to check out, twit.tv/TNW.